Hi everyone. So for this discussion, we're talking about reality therapy with the Millers, and in particular, it is discussing Marcus. So our first question is, what techniques do you think are most important in building a relationship with Marcus while helping him to understand the basic tenets of reality therapy? So first and foremost, I think that the most important part of therapy is um, establishing the basic therapeutic relationship. And to me, this means having respect for one another, being honest, um, not judging, and of course, setting boundaries. Um, from what we know about Marcus, I don't think he has a problem with any of those four things I just listed, especially crossing any boundaries. But we just always want to make sure that they understand that we need to trust each other, respect each other, be honest, and not cross any lines. And in regards to the basic tenets of reality theory, I would ask him questions about himself that surround the five basic needs in reality therapy, which are survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. I would ask him simple questions such as how he felt being raised in a biracial family and if he felt loved enough and felt like he belonged in his adopted family, because as we know, he is adopted. Um, and he has a white mother and a black father, but he was adopted. He's African American. And so I would just ask him if he felt a sense of belonging in that family. Um, and just if he felt like he belonged at school, if he felt like he belonged with the siblings, and then I would also focus on, do you think Rob loves you? Do you feel like you two have a connection still? Um, because if you're in a relationship and you don't feel loved and you don't feel a sense of belonging to that person anymore, there's no point of being in the relationship. Um, and finally, I would ask him if he feels like he has power over his life and his decisions. So, from what we know, sorry, I have a cold. Rob has left. He's moved away for a few months, and Marcus has just completely fallen apart. His life is basically in the hands of his sister Angela, who's the one that got him into therapy. And of course, his therapist is the one who got him to write his comps for his PhD. So I would just ask him if he feels powerless and as if he has no control over his life, because that is very important to know so that we can work on it. And in asking these questions, I hope that he gets a sense of where he falls into these five basic needs. Question number 2 is, if you were going to continue as Marcus's reality therapist, how might you use the WDEP system to support him in exploring and creating a plan to strengthen his relationships? So, following the WDEP system, I would have Marcus write down his wants and his relationships, not just with Rob, but with his family, his parents, his sisters, and his friends too. And then I would also ask him to write down his wants of actually finishing his comps and finishing his PhD, because if you don't want it, then there's really no point of doing it. Next, I would instruct him to write down what he is currently doing to move in the right direction of building those relationships. Because from my point of view, what it sounds like is Marcus is very codependent on Rob. And of course, when your significant other moves far away for a few months, it's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. You're going to be sad. There's going to be a lot of tears. But from my point of view, being codependent is staying in your bed, staring at the ceiling for a month, and not doing anything except eating pizza and drinking beer, which is what Marcus has done. So I would ask him, what are some ways that he can maybe not be so dependent on Rob and not have his happiness only lie in Rob's hands, because that's just not healthy. That's not a healthy relationship. You have to be able to make your own self happy, not rely on that for anybody else. And then I would then have him evaluate if what he is doing is working, and if it's not, how can we fix it? And then finally, together, we could develop a plan to help him accomplish those wants. And of course, we would follow a linear plan, which is client implemented, which I got from our textbook. So basically, what that means is I would have him write up his own plan, his everything, what he thinks that he needs to do. And then if he got stuck anywhere, if he needed suggestions, or if he was just confused on what to do, I would be there for him. I would give him my advice and just, offer my help. And my hope is that making these plans, he can further strengthen his relationships, most importantly with Rob, and also with his sister Angela, who of course is just being a good sister and wants him to get up and go to therapy, and so she pretty much dragged him to it. And while I think about it, he's already making progress because he's now going to therapy on his own, which is great. But yeah, I would just have him try to become less dependent on Rob and not rely on Rob to fulfill his happiness. Our third question: what multicultural issues does Marcus's counselor need to attend to? So, as I mentioned before, Marcus is adopted, and he was raised in a biracial family with a black father and a white mother. And so I got this from the book. Woebling has stated that regardless of the external pressures or oppression, reality therapy always assumes that the individual has choices. This focus diminishes the negative impact that society has on minorities because it maintains that each person is responsible for their larger system, rather than saying that there are some aspects of the larger system that we simply have little power over and can't change. Further, Glasser stressed the importance of the Golden Rule, which ensures that all people are free and recognizes that that when meeting individuals' needs, it is important that we don't harm others. So, in simple kindergarten terms, the Golden Rule is do unto others as you would do unto yourself. And I think that's a great rule to live by. And Marcus's counselor needs to be very sensitive in asking questions and making sure he doesn't cross any lines, cross any boundaries. Because Marcus is adopted and he is African American, he is also part of the gay community. So if his counselor isn't careful with his words, he could very easily offend Marcus without even trying to. So he just needs to be very conscientious about what he is saying. And finally, our last question is, if you were applying irrational emotive behavioral therapy with Marcus instead of reality therapy, what would be two major differences in the delivery of counseling? So, in regards to the differences between reality therapy and REBT, the first major difference would be that REBT is counselor-led rather than client-led. So Marcus needs to be able to lead his own sessions and be comfortable in talking to me about what's going on. Basically client-led. And REBT is not client-led. It's very directive and active on the counselor's part. The counselor's like, go, go, go. We need to do this. We need to talk about this. And sometimes that can leave the client feeling pressured and stressed out and not comfortable, which is not what we want in a counselor setting. I know I'm running out of time, but secondly, REBT focuses more on cognition and behaviors, and REBT therapists believe that individuals' irrational beliefs are the core of our issues, and being able to reverse those irrational beliefs into positive ones can result in positive change in our cognition and behaviors. And then in reality theory, they believe that it is our environment and basically how you control your beliefs and how you control your thoughts. So I'm actually learning this in my own therapy. So somebody does me wrong. Is it their fault that I have a certain thought? No. Is it their fault they did something to me? Yes. But I have the power to control my own beliefs, and that is reality theory. And REBT is that our irrational beliefs are the core of our issues. And that is all. Thank you.